Welcome to the Counselling Tutor Podcast, the must-listen-to podcast for students of counselling and psychotherapy. Here are your hosts, Rory Lees-Oakes and Ken Kelly.
Hi, I'm Rory, and welcome to a special edition of the Counselling Tutor Podcast. Ken isn't with us today, but I am joined by Giles Robillard-Day, the interim CEO of the National Counselling Society. So, Giles, you're very welcome.
Rory, it's lovely to be here again and to share some time with you and all your members at Counselling Tutor. And looking forward to having a chat.
Absolutely. So you've come on today to talk about some changes that are happening with the NCS. So what's going on? What changes are afoot, Giles?
Well, we keep growing, Rory, as you probably know, and we've got a really, really exciting year ahead with lots of things happening. The major ones this year, we're going to be changing our name to the National Counselling and Psychotherapy Society. We're going to be launching a brand new, incredible website, and we're also going to be launching 2 new sub-registers, which is probably one of the first in the AR program to do that.
Well, fantastic. So let's start on first things first. So why are you changing your name, and what is the name going to be?
Yeah, no, good question, Rory. A few years ago, we talked to our members and it became apparent we've got lots of members who do identify with being a psychotherapist, but it wasn't in our name. And also from going out to stakeholders and them saying, oh, you're just counsellors. Well, we're counsellors and psychotherapists. So we thought about it. And then at the end of last year, we balloted our members and said, would you like us to reflect psychotherapy in our name and change our name to a National Counselling and Psychotherapy Society? And our members overwhelmingly said yes. There was, it was, I think, 88% in favour. So hence, as you know, we're a democratic body. We don't make changes without consulting our membership. And a membership said yes. So later on this year, we will become the National Counselling and Psychotherapy Society, or the NCPS.
Wow. And do you think that that would reflect the general demographic of your membership? The mix of people that you have as members of the society?
I think so. It's going to allow people to really show who they are, because if you are a psychotherapist, but being in the NCS, you may have felt underrepresented. So we're just trying to make sure all our members are represented, and we give a true reflection also to the public of who we're representing, so they can see we represent counsellors and psychotherapists. But I have to say, it's going to be a long process, Rory. It's not going to happen overnight. As you can probably understand, there's a lot involved when you change your name. So, stage 1, we've got to create new logos. But then we've got to make changes to our website. Our members are going to have to make changes to their websites and their portals. Organizational members are going to have to make changes to their websites, putting new logos on. Even things like, we work with a lot of EAPs, and where they say they accept NCS members, they're going to have to change the wording now. And even down to more detail. So we're part of a collaboration to ban conversion therapy. Again, the name on that's going to have to change. So it's a long process. It's not going to happen sort of overnight. And the one thing I would say to all our members is, please don't do anything yet. please don't go changing your name yet, because we will be sending out a timetable in due course of how it's going to happen. But it will be a process, but an exciting one, I think.
Okay, really so the message is there's change in the wind. Don't do anything now, but wait for instructions to drop into your email box, and you'll be taking hand in hand through the change process.
Absolutely, Rory, because it's a big change. It may seem that we've only added one word to our title, but all the bits are gone behind the scenes to make sure that is on websites, on logos, etc. is a big piece of work to be done.
Yeah. Do you think it will have any impact on employers now that you're your representation is wider in the therapeutic community. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you're clearly saying it's the national, the NCPS, that they're adding the psychotherapists in. So I'm guessing that employers would see you as a organisation that represented a wide section of the counselling and psychotherapeutic community.
Yeah, I think so. I think, luckily we're a lot of employers, and most of the major EAPs, the employee assistance programs, and private medical insurers already recognise National Counselling Society. But there are some who will say, but you don't include. And so now we can say, well, actually, we do include psychotherapists. So yes, I think it will have an advantage. I think we're not doing it so much for that. It's the driving reason is our members have asked for it, and our members have asked to have be represented as they feel they are. So
yeah. Well, I think that as you say does represent your members, and I hear very clearly what you're saying, Giles, that you're member driven. The members have asked for this. You've asked your members. They voted overwhelmingly to have a name change, and you've acted on that.
Absolutely. And I think it's as we always say, whenever I chat to you, we are a democratic body. We do like to listen to our members and put decisions to them, and this is what they've asked for, and we're very happy to do it. As I say, it's not going to be a quick thing to do overnight, but we're excited by it, and it's an exciting next chapter, I suppose.
Yeah, so if you are a member of the NCS, soon to be the NCPS, I suspect you need to watch those mailboxes as information comes in, and logos and designs and general information starts to unravel and become clearer.
Absolutely, Rory.
So I wonder, are there any other changes that members and the general public may notice?
Yeah, the other big change we're doing, which I said at the introduction, is we're launching a brand new website this year. So we're just starting work in the background with developers. And the goal is really to make sure that our website is really accessible and really easy to navigate for both our members, but also for general public and potential clients, and which is really, really important to make it accessible to all. The other thing we're conscious of when we develop a new website is to really make the counselling directory a fantastic resource. So again, both for our members and for stakeholders and for potential clients. So that there's a way to really go and find support if you need it, but in a really rich environment, which has got all the details you may want when you're looking for a counsellor or psychotherapist. Yeah, so a big task, a big investment, but hopefully one which will be of benefit to our members, but also to the general public, allowing that sort of really clear information and ease of use and going through the system to find the right person for you.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? Because I think we in the psychotherapeutic community are kind of privy to the jargon and the modalities and all the other mechanisms that make counselling and psychotherapy. But I think it's sometimes forgotten the general public aren't. They just want help. And, they have a specific problem. So I guess what I'm hearing, Giles, is that when the general public engage with the website, they'll have a easier pathway to be able to find the therapist that fits for them.
Absolutely. And to try and use, again, I suppose nowadays it's trying to make sure we're using all the IT technology and wizardry that is out there to make sure people can search specifically for what they're looking for. If they know what they're looking for, which may not always be the case, and just to make it a really, I'm going to say enjoyable experience, but easy experience to navigate. And again, but also for our members as well, to make sure, if they're filling in their details or updating it or looking for information, it's really at hand and easy to find. So it's a really exciting change for us, linked in with the name change. So yeah. Well, big move forward.
It does sound very exciting, and it does feel to some extent like a rebranding and a refresh. you're going to be bringing the new logo in, or the new title, and also the new website. Now, children and young people have, counselling for children and young people has developed significantly in the last few years. And we were talking just before we pressed the live button, if you like, and you were telling me that there's a new sub-register for counselling children and young people.
Absolutely. And firstly, the need, again, I know I've talked to you about this before, the need to support our children and young people now is higher than ever. The impact of the pandemic, the impact of climate anxiety, the impact of losing school time, and everything else that's going on in young people's lives. We're seeing our members are supporting more and more children and young people. So we've looked at this, and what we're doing later on, well, very soon actually, we're going to be launching a children and young people's sub-register. And that will entail you'll already have to be on our accredited register. So you're already a member, you've already sitting on the PSA accredited register. But then you will be able to evidence additional skills to say that you have the skills and competencies to work with children and young people. Obviously, we already have that in place. If our members want to work with children and young people, they have to adhere to our children and young people's competency framework, which sets out the skills and competencies and training they need to do that, because it is different. And we're not, working in schools is different to working in private practice. But it's going to be the first time we've actually given people the opportunity to sort of give us the information that they've done the training, they've got the skills, they've got the experience. We can then process that and put them on a sub-register. But then importantly, just a minute ago, when people are looking for support for a child or a young person, or indeed the young person is looking themselves for support, they'll be easy to find a member of ours, a counsellor or psychotherapist who is on our children and young people's register, our CYP register. So they'll be able to know that they are following our competency framework and that their checks have been put in place to make sure they have those skills.
Yeah. And
really important, I think.
It is really, really important. And I think that, well, I know as a former school counsellor and someone who's trained in child and adolescent therapy, that working with children and young people is a very, very different proposition to maybe coming out of first trainings and even going into private practice, or even being in first trainings and working as a counsellor in a placement. A lot of the things that you learn in first trainings don't map exactly across to working with children and young people. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and it's also sort of beyond pure counselling skills. It's understanding safeguarding policy. It's understanding, if you're working in schools, how a designated safeguarding lead works in a pastoral team. It's understanding, often there's multi-agency work involved and referral processes to go down. So it's understanding the whole bit around that. And the other thing we make clear in our competency framework as well is there's a big difference, and I'm going to generalize in an age bracket now, but between the sort of 4 and 10-year-old and the 10 plus, because we're very adamant that really, if you're working with 4 to 10-year-olds, you're more likely to be using play therapy, art therapy, and a more a less talking therapy and more I'm getting the wrong word now. I can't find it. But
is it creative?
Creative, that's the word. Thank you. More creative interventions.
Yes.
So we're clear on that as well. And it's just giving people, parents and service users, the ability to really search and find people who have those skills and competencies. And again, obviously our members already have them. It's not new, and we already have a framework they have to follow. This is just the next stage of that. And so also when you're searching the counselling directory, you'll be able to click, I want, it's for a child or a young person, and you will go to our sub-register, which will have all the counsellors and psychotherapists who meet those competencies. So it's to me, it's a really big move forward, and hopefully, we'll give more assurance to the public, which is what we're all about, and more protection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, we are a public facing industry, if you want to call us an industry. And I think there's been a lot of confusion in the past to the general public about, who can do what and what skills they have. And it sounds like this register, certainly in terms of counselling children and young people, is going to make it really clear who does what and what they can do.
Absolutely. And again, there's a process to follow. We'll have a grandparenting route, and then it'll be experience and qualification based. But yes, it's just that need, I think, to make sure the public can look with confidence and also, I suppose, with ease, with maybe a thing. I was talking earlier about our counselling directory, but rather than having to go through every counsellor in your area and then try and find out have they got these competencies, yes. This is an easy way of finding out, actually, I want someone who specialises in children and young people. I can go to that, and I know that everyone I'm looking at has got those competencies which are needed. So, yeah, a really exciting move, I think.
Yes, and talking about excitement, the Scoped initiative, which is been widely talked about in the psychotherapeutic community, has now had its final iteration, I believe, published. I wonder what the NCS view or any update on the Scoped framework at all?
Of course, more than happy to give you an update, Rory. First of all, you may well, we got involved. We weren't involved in Scoped initially when it started in 2016. We got involved in 2020. We were invited to join. We asked our members, and our members overwhelmingly said, "Please do get involved and get involved in the Scope project." So we have been involved since 2020, and you're correct. The latest framework, the January 2022 framework, has been published and is out there for all to see. Within Scope, we went into it having listened to our members' concerns, and we've worked really hard. But I have to say as well, all the Scope partners have worked really hard to address the concerns which people were bringing, and those have shown in the new framework it's got less academic language, which was a concern, and also talks a lot more of the therapeutic relationship, which, again, as we all know, as counsellors and psychotherapists, is the key component, really. So the framework is out there for all to see in a sort of new format, and it's easy to read and sets out, what the framework is. But it needs to be very clear, really. This has been termed phase 1. And phase 1 was to publish the new January 2022 framework with all the work that's gone on it in the background on that. And then we're now into phase 2. And phase 2 has really got 3 key elements. The first one, and something which our members really, really asked for, is an impact assessment. So we're now starting work in Scope in putting together the framework, if you like, for carrying out an impact assessment. And it's not going to be a quick process because it's got to be done properly, and there's lots of things to look at and how it's going to impact different groups, etc. So phase 2 is an impact assessment, but also in the Scope framework, there's 3 columns, currently column A, B, and C. We haven't put titles to those columns. So the other next part of phase 2 work is to see if there can be agreement across the Scope partners what to call those columns. And then the final part of phase 2 is to look at the mechanisms to allow people to transition up the columns, because it's been tried to make clear throughout that transitioning, if you like, upwards through the columns or across the columns it may be based on on study, but also it can be based on experience, on CPD, on other learning, and it's just making sure that all the Scope partners have the same mechanisms in place to make sure that the transition is there and how it's going to work. So that's where we're at. So phase 1, get the framework out, and phase 2 is to look at the impact assessment, the titles of the columns, and the mechanisms for transitioning.
Yeah, so it sounds to me it's a work in progress as opposed to a finished project.
Absolutely, Rory, and I think the view is, to a degree, it may always be a work in progress. It's a living document. Things will change over time. But, I would say since we published it, or since the Scope Partnership published a framework, the biggest question we've sort of had is, where do I sit? Where will I be? And at the moment, the way the framework was done and the researchers went into it, it's very clear that our accredited members currently map to column A, and our accredited professional members currently map to column B, and that's clear. So column C, there's still some work to be done, because we've got many members who would map to that column, but we do not yet have a specific title for a membership grade to map onto it. It doesn't mean we don't have members who could map to it, but we don't have a specific membership grade yet. So it is a work in progress. And I think the thing I have to make clear there, Rory, is we talked about going out to the members for the name change. As a truly democratic membership body, our members will get a vote. We've said that from the onset. Our members will get a vote on the final adoption of Scope as and when that time comes.
Well, I mean, I think that's a very, very comprehensive answer. It is a hot and contentious topic, as my mailbox would testify to. And Giles, Robbie, RJ, it's wonderful to talk to you and catch up with the NCS.
No, Rory, it's great. I hope everyone's having a great half term, because I know this is going on at half term, and look forward to catching up with you again.
Yes,
thanks, Rory.
And for all those who are listening, as always, stay grounded and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the Counselling Tutor podcast. Find the show notes for this episode on our website at www.counsellingtutor.com.